noches, Miami. Welcome to another episode of the Goon Squad. Today, joining me, you can't see him, but you can hear him, the voice of God, Clutch. How you doing, my brother?
What's going on, man? Yeah, everything's good, chilling.
Hey, man, I'm Alex Atichiska. I'm your host. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody tuning in, listening on Finns Talk Sports Network. Today is also a very special show because after our show, we have the premiere episode of No Holds Bar, our WWE, AEW wrestling, mixed martial arts show that's going to focus on all wrestling, all mixed martial arts shows. I know we're going to have a big following that, and I know the guys are super excited. Bobby's excited. I'll be producing it as well there. So remember, after the show, 9 p.m., that's going live today. First episode, premiere, baby. First and foremost, before we talk any heat, we're all Miami boys per se. Some of us were born here, raised here. Some of us still live here. My heart goes out to everybody in the eye of the storm with Ian, everybody that's been affected by it. Obviously, even before Fiona, we're talking about Puerto Rico, DR, Cuba. But here we understand the magnitude of these storms. We understand, first and foremost, here, firsthand, we've experienced a lot of these storms. So our prayers, our thoughts are with everybody there. Any of our viewers that wants to reach out, any way that we can help or assist or brighten up your day, just hold the fort. I hope everybody that has family members were able to evacuate. Everybody's still there, being safe, and our hearts are there. We're always in mind because once you're a Miami man, once you're a Florida man, you know it. You know what they're going with. You know what they're going through, what they're struggling with. So we always want to keep our thoughts on them. Okay. And with that being said, Clutch, training camp is upon us. I know the Heat flew over the Bahamas. They're clear skies, enjoying their time. What I love about training camp, people read, I think, too much into it sometimes, what is said the first few days. Remember, we're just throwing smoke screens and all here and there. What I love about training camp, and I'll get your point of view now, is the camaraderie it builds. Because it's not really about like going at it and killing each other and I'm going after your spots. Obviously, it's competition. But the cool thing about training camp, when you do it like that, and the Heat like to do these remote training camps, you kind of just relax. It's just you. Sometimes families come along, but practices, maybe you're 2 days, 2 to 3 hours a time. The rest of the time, you're free. You get a lot of team bonding, activities. You get to eat with the guys. Just hang out with your team. This is something that you're building that's going to last the whole season because you're with these guys for 6, 7, 8 months out of the year. So that's the exciting part for me. I want to know what you've heard, what you've seen that gets you excited about this training camp, Clutch.
I like you said, I like the camaraderie that they build in training camp. I think this year it benefits the Heat probably one of the few like reasons that maybe running it back is okay because they already know each other, so they can just keep building that relationship. Especially like I want to see more of a relationship personally between Tyler and Bam because they're the future of this team.
Mm-hmm.
So getting them together on the same page, and if they connect outside of the court, they can connect on the court. And there was a lot of things said about Kyle Lowry, how he came, talked about he didn't care much about Pat's comments, that it was only his opinion, da da da. But I think Pat Riley's there too. Mickey Harrison
Mm-hmm.
is there. You've seen all those guys there, so it's a perfect time to set the record straight among themselves behind closed doors. If there's any issues, if there's not, just play basketball and just have fun with it. It's the Bahamas. Have fun. You're in clear skies. You got away from what the storm was going to be. So yeah, just have fun.
And I like that you mentioned that because I've always been a big believer that actually Bam and Hero have a good relationship. It's not documented in the media because obviously Bam is more a relationship between Donovan Mitchell and other players across the league. But they've always had a great relationship. But you mentioned something. This year it builds up, and it's funny because they're going to be tied down for years with this organization and their development. And this year, it's funny how both of them are being counted on to make some sort of a leap in their overall game for this team to be successful. And I said it last episode when I said that Bam would be this year's MVP for the team. And obviously, I believe he should be Defensive Player of the Year, but that's, like you said, politics.
He
Um,
should have been Defensive Player of the Year 2 times already, probably.
Absolutely, yes, man. And it's funny we haven't gotten that respect since Zoe was back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year. But I don't think you can. You can probably throw some stats at me. Anybody can, but I don't think there's a better overall defender individual or team defender, then bam. I know there's probably some better perimeter defenders, but overall team defense and the importance, because to me, defensive player of the year is like your defensive MVP. And I think he's the most important defensive player in the league for his team. Everything Bam does, it ignites everything. And what Jimmy said, one thing that Jimmy said, and I love how Jimmy always takes things in strides, man. Jimmy fits the persona of the Heat, where he's like win at all costs. I'm gonna do anything it takes, but he's also laid back. He has the Miami vibe to him, where he can actually just chill, play basketball. And a lot of people just mentioned he's not gonna play the four. I understand Spo probably won't start him at the four, but he played the four a lot before this year. This past year, we switched everything, so he's banged against the fours. People take so much context in that, and they take it so serious that they don't realize what he said after when they were even talking about his rankings on ESPN. And he's like, "Hey, damn, that's pretty cool, bro. I'll take 7. I'll take 17. You know where I came from, blah 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 blah." And he said all these things, and he's like, "I have a great group of guys around me," and it's true. Because I compare the way they've built around Jimmy, and it really bothers me, this narrative when they talk about, oh, they haven't done Jimmy right, or what they've really let it down on Jimmy. They need to really get him a team. You can argue that Jimmy, the past 2 3 years, he's been in the best position to win. They've got him Lowry, and Spo's super happy to have Lowry, like he said today. That's his quarterback. He makes people just look for Lowry, and they're going to talk about he's not fit, his mind wasn't right. Look, he's dropping statistics, but they also forget about the leadership. He puts people in their place where they need to be, and he's still a good on-ball defender. Not great anymore, but he's still a heavy set, good on-ball defender. He can shoot. He can shoot the mid-range, and he knows when to tune it in and when to tune it out. So the reason I'm saying all these, we're going to go through some potential lineups, Clutch. Let me know, what is your ideal lineup right now? And I know you speak Spoism. You speak Spo's language. And I know you've attested it to it. And I've set a few lineups in my mind. What do you feel? Obviously, this is the second day of training camp. We haven't seen any practices. There's no footage that we're going to be able to analyze. We just see guys shooting threes. I'm intrigued. Never pay too much attention to the preseason games because those lineups really don't foresee anything. But what do you feel is the best lineup to start off the season?
Okay. Yeah, there's a big difference between what I think is the best lineup for this team and what I think it will be.
Okay, go. Give me both. Perfect.
Okay.
Give me both. Go.
What I think it will be, I think I said it last time.
Uh-huh.
I think it's gonna be Lowry. I think they're gonna give Hero all the chances to be the starting shooting guard.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna be Jimmy. I think it's gonna be Caleb to start the
Okay.
season. I heard reports. Some people said, I think he said it in media day, that he gained 8 pounds to get ready for the position. So I think that's where it's headed right now. He's going to be the starting power forward. And I don't know what the results are going to be. I'm not a fan, but that's what I think it's going to be.
Okay.
And Bam, obviously. So the lineup that I think should be out there to start would probably, and I might get some slack for this, I think it's Lowry, Hero.
Okay.
I want to give Hero that shot. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if he's ready right now. I think for Hero, just not trying to get off track so much, but I think Hero is in his 2 a year where it's make or break to see what he is on this team, whether he's going to be a permanent starter, if maybe you want to move on and get something better. It's going to be that kind of year for him. Hero's year is going to be similar to Tua's year this year. And for all the football fans out there.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then, okay, so Lowry, Hero, I'd go interchangeable, either one, because there's so much switching. I don't really put any straight position on it, but Strus and Jimmy.
Okay.
And Bam. I don't like it because I don't think there's a solution to the power forward spot on this roster right now. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the best you can put out there.
Okay. I can feel, one thing I have with the playing Caleb and Jimmy together for spurts to start off, it's athletic. I'm not going to lie. And I am intrigued by it. The reason I like Strus also is because it provides extra shooting. And if you're going to have Hero, you got Strus, you got Lowry, they can shoot, and you got Bam and Butler kind of as the rollers, They're going haywire everywhere. They're your high potent. Like that's a high potent offense. It's a fast offense. You could either do it with Caleb and Struz. Well, I can tell you with Caleb is more athletic. So defensively, I can assume that lineup will be better defensively. Will lead to more transition baskets, fast break points. It'll play faster, which is something that Spo said that I was intrigued by it. And once again, it comes down to versatility. He says we can play small, we can play tall, we can play fast. So I think the strength of this team, believe it or not, I believe this is just me. I believe a lot of people are overhyping the stretch four and the four gap because of the fact that we lost PJ, and people are going to try to supplement PJ, like replace PJ, and you can't do that. PJ is a special player, that's him. But there's ways that you can adjust the roster to it. There's ways that you can be versatile, and it could lead to success. And one lineup that you mentioned, and I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. But I do believe what you mentioned. The Martin lineup, I see it. Can Jimmy and him, I see Martin more of kind of supplementing Jimmy. Like I see Martin becoming Jimmy when Jimmy's off the floor. I'm pretty sure they're going to incorporate it sometime. Like I'm pretty sure they're going to play at times Omer and Bam together. That's the lineup I'm really intrigued by because there's some criticism on Spo that he doesn't like playing two bigs. He's playing two bigs, but one of the bigs has to be a shooter. So now is it Bam going to be the shooter? Is Omer going to be the shooter? Which is it's the intriguing part because they can mesh. Omer can dominate on the rebound, and Bam could have more freedom to create, more freedom to drive, pull up jumpers. So I'm intrigued to see how they're gonna combine that. So to me, like I've said before in other episodes, the starting lineup to me is not the most important thing, but I understand it's an essential part of your team because it's how you start the game. That's what creates for you. It changes basically your substitution patterns because if your starting lineup is slacking or is not in influence, you can go down 10 zip really easily. So I understand the magnitude of that, and I understand trying to find the right formula, which leads me to this point. I'm a big believer in the fit for Oladipo in the second unit. That doesn't mean I don't believe he can start. I understand that's going to be one of the, at least officially, is going to be one of the dogfights in training camp. Who starts as a two guard, Oladipo or Hero? I'll offer my take and I'll send it to you. I believe we start with Hero, not because of every opportunity. He does. Last year, Hero was in the second unit, so he was in the third or fourth fiddle. And when he's in the starting unit, he's going to have to play more off ball. He's going to have to create without the basketball. He's going to have to do more catch and shoots, more drive ups. Obviously, it does help when you got Bam and Butler because it frees off some of the attention. So it could benefit Hero. He might have a little bit more freedom. That's what people don't see. People would see sometimes as, oh, he's playing against second unit scrubs. Yeah, but when you're playing and you're the leading scorer and you're the go-to guy in the second unit, all the focus is on you. So this could actually be beneficial for him. The reason I see Hero starting is because right now he's still not defensively to the par that you want him to be. He might never get there. He might never be an all-NBA defender. We understand that there's limitations. But he has improved. He's gotten stronger. His body fat percentage has gotten lower. His core looks to be stronger this year by what you've seen. Just the eye test, obviously. But I feel that Oladipo creates more versatility off the second unit with Vincent, with a possibly Robinson, where he can dominate defensively with Vincent, pick you up in those 2-1-2s, and scoring punch, he can still get you to the bucket, now to the basket. Now, I see stretches where in the games we are going to play Lowry, Hero, Oladipo, Butler, and Bam. I think that that is a death lineup. I believe that's what I called it last time. I think that's super quick, super athletic, and they're great defensively and with multiple scoring punches. And you got to make it work with ball movement. But who do you feel wins out? I know you told me they will give the opportunity in your mindset. Who do you feel wins out as a two guard, Oladipo or Hero?
I think it's gonna be Hero, and I still have to maintain that it's gonna. I think Hero's the best offensive player on the team.
Absolutely.
He can create for himself,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently in media day he said he's learning to create without a screen. which is very important. So Bam isn't always tied up to being that screen setter, and he can do other things. So I think you have to put your best offensive option out there for to start with the lineups,
Hmm.
and you have guys like Lowry who's like you said, he's not the defender he used to be, but he's a good defender. And you hide Hero between Lowry and Jimmy, who are good defenders, and Caleb, who's a really good defender too.
Hmm.
So put him out with four defenders. I think you can make up for his lack of defense if you hide him with four average to very above average defenders. And I really want Victor Oladipo to be that sixth man because I want it. We haven't seen first option Oladipo since Indiana. Maybe a
Yes.
little bit in Houston, but it's Houston, so I don't put much stock into whatever they're doing. But
Yeah.
you really haven't seen a first option Oladipo since Indiana, and he put up really big numbers in Indiana. If he can get 80% of what he did there coming off the bench, I think we might be looking at another six man of the year for the Heat with Oladipo.
And that's the thing. He's coming with something to prove. And this is the first time in 2 years that he's able to work offseason in his offensive game. We all know, like you said, defensively who he is. And I just feel, man, and I keep going back to this. I just sit down and I'm analyzing the roster. And I'm gonna throw out a few names for you because these are some of them are two-way contracts. Some of them are obviously unrestricted free agents that we picked up this year. And these names are Marcus Garrett, Darius Days, Hayward Highsmith, Jamal Kane. I think, for example, out of all of them, the most complete player right now is Highsmith. But Darius Days and him kind of fit the same mold. Darius Days kind of reminds me of Draymond Green. Jamal Kane is a pure scorer. He's one of the most pure shooters I've seen, and he's 24 years old. I've mentioned these names because a lot of people didn't know who Max Strus was last year or the year before. A lot of people didn't know who Gabe Vincent was. So we're a few injuries away from some of these guys taking up minutes, especially a Highsmith, one of our favorites, Nikola Jovic.
The
I,
guy.
I see these teams. It's crazy to me because we're in win now mode. Obviously, we're playing for a championship. We have the nucleus in place, which by all means, I really don't feel nervous in regards to the four situation. I think it's been blown out of proportion. I understand the size disadvantage. I just feel that so much options, multiple options to throw out there at you. Even with Yurtsevin sometimes, even with Bam, Caleb, Denman if he has some spot up minutes here and there. Um, Even Butler at the four, like we mentioned before. But there's a few injuries that could happen, and during the course of the season, sometimes injuries do happen. And last year, we had the emergence of Omer and Max Strus. The times that Bam was injured, the minutes, the Gabe Vincent when Lowry was out with personal matters, he took over. He spot on. We finished with the first seed. So I see this as people say we're running it back, but this isn't really the same team. Offensively, this team is not going to be the same team we saw last year. I love PJ, and he's probably one of the best on-ball defenders and one of the best switch defenders that we have in the league. But there is a limitation to his offensive game, and there was a lack of scoring punch sometimes in that
Hmm.
first unit last year, and we saw it. The concept of having the depth, people sometimes confuse it of you have it too much. One of my main concerns, or not really concerns, but one of the curiosities I have this offseason is the effect of Robinson. I liked what he's been saying lately, that he's right in the head, right in between the eyes, which means that he's focused. He's not taking those misses to heart. And that's one thing that I think limits a lot of these athletes, especially a shooter. When you don't see the ball going through the hoop, you start second guessing yourself, especially when you're limited in other areas of the game, defensively, driving kicks, dribble penetration. And I have a sense he's improved, and they're going to try to showcase that. I don't know if they're going to try to move him or not. He probably will be movable. But I feel that he's going to be locked down in that second unit. I will be surprised, though, if he starts. I don't think Robinson starts. But once again, with Spo, you can expect anything because I didn't think Kendrick Nunn was going to start when we signed him as the year before as another
Yeah.
free agent from the Warriors, and he ended up starting, and the unit was solid with Dragic. So, what do you feel? How comfortable are you? Let me phrase it that way. How comfortable are you right now with the force situation that we have? And I'm gonna throw two names out there, and you tell me what you think because these are players that will most likely not start the season in their current team. The only ones that we know. There might be a surprise trade. There's always a trade before the season, but these are two players that will most likely not end up on their teams. So we got Jay Crowder and Miles Turner. You're the GM. This is presented to you. Out of those two, who would you acquire if you could acquire either or?
I I don't like much of either of them,
Okay.
but if I had to choose, it would be Jay Crowder. I
Okay.
think he fits into what Spo does, and at the end
Okay.
of the day, it's all about fit. Because and you kind of opened the door for me to scream into the abyss like I've been doing on Twitter,
Go ahead.
where I think
This could be your
I
Twitter
think
feed.
I think Bam is nowhere close to being a good power forward. Bam is not a power forward. You can't put him next to Miles Turner, and I don't think you can put him next to Yurt Seven for extended minutes. I
Why do you
don't
say
like him.
that?
I
Why do you
just
say that? Offensively or defensively?
offensively, I think he has to be a center. Straight up. Offensively,
Okay.
he has to be a center. He has to be in the paint. He has to
Uh-huh.
be the pick and the roller. I mean, Bam is special, so he initiates a lot.
Yeah.
But be the roller, be in the paint. I'd rather have him work on his post game instead of
Uh-huh.
working on his 3-point shot. If you get what I'm
Okay.
trying to say, I
I
like
got you.
him
I
in
got you.
there.
Okay.
I do think he's a four defensively because it gives him the ability to go out in the perimeter where he's really good, and he can
Mm-hmm.
lock down guards. We've seen him lock down Steph Curry. We've seen him
Mm-hmm.
lock down Trae Young. I think that's the weird thing about Bam. I don't think he's a natural four. I think
Okay.
he's a four on. I guess you can say he's a four on defense, and it would work out pretty well. But I think putting another big next to him on offense is just makes it too compact out there, and he doesn't. And I don't think you've seen him in the summer, like in the Miami
Mm-hmm.
Pro League, making his jumpers and all that. But until you see it translated to the NBA, I'm not comfortable with him next to another huge big on the court. Like this isn't the Pat Riley Knicks where it's in the '90s and you put two bigs out there and it's awesome and everything. This is Spo who
Yeah.
likes the small power forward.
Uh-huh.
So that's where I'm at. I would
That's where.
say from the two guys that you mentioned earlier, I'd say Jay Crowder because he's more fit. He's proven to fit the bill because he's done it before. If I had to choose between the two, I wouldn't pick either, but Jay
Yeah.
Crowder would probably be the guy.
we agree on that. And I honestly, out of both of them, they don't intrigue me. Either or. I understand. Before I was a little bit more on Miles Turner, and then I started analyzing more of his game and the defensive fallout, his shooting, his rebounding is decent. But I'm like, I could get that with Omer. Like, I don't need Miles for that. And I believe Omer's probably a better shooter consistently if he does take those shots. But one thing I'll mention that you mentioned about Bam that's just curious to me. You know what I feel with the best comparisons to the Miami fan? You kind of saw the mental block that Tua had until you saw him play against the Ravens, and then you just saw him ball out, and you saw him actually be an athlete and just play. I feel that we might not. Bam has unfortunately, I think, has been conservative by design at times, and I know within the organization they're probably pushing him to be more aggressive. Publicly, they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, no, Bam does this, Bam triggers." But I guarantee you, you got Butler, you got Lowry telling him and
I
getting in his
mean,
face like,
Pat
"Bro, you need to
Riley
fucking score the
publicly,
ball."
Pat Riley
Yeah,
publicly
exactly.
probably. I think he said he wants Bam to shoot more.
He said it, and Pat told him probably 15 shots, 16 shots, and Bam's like, "I want 18." So I don't mind that. I want to see what level of unlocking he does that another leap because Bam's okay. Defensively, there's no more leap for Bam. Bam is the best defender in the league, in my opinion, the most versatile defender as well, and the recovery time is insane. He has great lateral quickness for his size. He's an athletic freak. He's like Sean Kemp, but even more athletic. Um, the offensive part is consistency. You see that he does it, so it's not that he can't do it. He can take over a game, and that's one thing I always mention when I like Point Bam a lot. I believe that in ending of games or even through the course of a game, you're going to see Bam with the basketball a lot more, taking it up the court, initiating the offense that way, not just initiating from the block. You're going to see Tyler Hero doing that as well. I believe this team is going to be a little bit more versatile, even with Kyle Lowry playing off the ball. Sometimes Kyle might even play shooting guard. and within certain lineups. But one jump that you'll see, and I mentioned it, and you mentioned about Bam. I want to see Bam play freely. And when we drafted Precious, this is my only thing with the trade for Lowry. Because I was okay with Dragic. I understood Dragic. Lowry gives you a different skill set, per se. Dragic is more of a pure scorer. I always wondered, does acquiring Lowry justify giving up Precious? And what I saw about Precious last year is that he would have been a perfect fit next to Bam, which is the reason we drafted him, I believe. Because I know we were between Tyrese Maxey, and I love Maxey. I wanted Maxey because I envisioned Maxey next to Hero for years. We didn't draft Maxey. We went with Precious. I didn't mention anything. I'm like, I see what they're doing. And then the rumors started coming out with Lowry, and obviously he's going to take an asset. And I'm like, of course, they're going to ask for Precious. They're going to ask for Precious. They're going to build up, and they asked for Precious. And we traded Goran and Precious, and we were able to acquire Lowry. Do we find ourselves now? This is just in hindsight. Were we better off, because you can't really think about it unless it happens, were we better off not trading for Lowry, and we would have kept Precious, and we would have, Vincent kind of would have started at point guard, and you got Dragic playing possibly backup minutes? How do you feel about that? I've never really asked anybody that. How do you feel in regards to that trade? Was Lowry worth giving up Precious for? I think he was, but I want to know your point of view. I want to know somebody else's point of view.
I think he was. I think he was definitely worth the trade. I think he was worth Precious. I think he was worth Goran. It hurts my heart because I love Goran.
Yeah.
If you see my StreamYard avatar hidden away, it's a Goran picture.
Yeah, it's a Goran picture.
So I love the guy. But here's the thing. I think you don't get the Gabe Vincent we saw last year without Kyle Lowry.
Exactly.
I don't think he develops like that. And I think Precious is a fantastic player. He's fantastic for the Raptors, but he fit more of the Pat Riley build than the Eric Spoelstra build. I think Spo saw him as Bam's backup, and Pat Riley saw him as Bam's front court partner. And there was a difference there. And Pat Riley kind of realized how it was going and said, okay, Precious is disposable. We can get Lowry in here, make Jimmy happy, and we'll get it going that way.
That's interesting. That could be very true, man. I want to just take time also to thank everybody that's listening. Remember to like, subscribe, follow all our shows. We have a variety of shows, a lineup almost every day. We're taking over the airwaves in Miami. And like I said, this is from the fans, for the fans. We do it because we love it. And basically all we talk about is we're not experts. Some of us are a little bit more educated than others. That is true. Some of us are a little bit more opinionated, positive, negative. But we do it for you guys. So always please like, subscribe, share. And I'll wrap this up really quickly, Clutch, with you, since it's just you and me today. My biggest wild card this offseason, I know we've talked about Highsmith, Jovic. I do believe that they'll get playing time pending injury. Maybe even on rest days, which I don't mind that because you kind of know what you have and you want to throw it in the fire just in case, because injuries can happen. That's one thing that people overlook with depth is injuries happen in the postseason. You need to be able to have someone that knows your system, that is willing to play. A lot of people focus on these rotations, just 8-man. You need to have depth in every position. So, which is what we saw last year with the Heat, and it's the progression of this year. We're not really running them back. Every team here is improved. Oladipo is healthier. Hero and Bam are ready for the next leap. Butler is more mature. I believe Butler is going to be more efficient this year than he was before. Lowry's fit. He's going to be efficient. My intrigue is Robinson. I believe Robinson comes in as your second unit. I believe he's going to come firing on all cylinders and play next to Vincent, Oladipo, possibly Martin, possibly Strus. And I believe if Omer probably will begin the season as the backup 5. So you have great pick and rolls. You have which Omer and Robinson can run off, shooting just like he used to do with Bam. How do you see the Robinson situation playing out? Because I wouldn't just trade Robinson with an asset to get rid of his contract. If Robinson comes and is playing very well in the season, he's evolving, he's improving defensively. You just don't move him to move him. I know you probably have to move him because of his contract, and you got the Hero situation with his contract, with his extension, which might be a formality at this point. I'm not gonna say 100%, but I'll say 95%. He signs his extension before the season starts.
Mhm.
Do you feel that by the trade deadline, some pieces might become available? I believe this roster will be intact until the trade deadline to see what we have. If this is successful, do you pull the trigger in the trade deadline to acquire a 4? And actually, well, before I forget, Carmelo Anthony's out there. I love Carmelo, and I think Carmelo's perfect for this for us now. I'm just throwing it out there. You could disagree with me. Do you feel that this team is intact after the trade deadline, or who's the most possible person that is moved? Who's the most high likely person to be moved?
Okay, yeah, no, this team is not intact after the trade deadline. I said this on Twitter a lot. I said
Okay.
you can go into this season with this roster and keep
Yes.
your head above water. You can, but you cannot go into the playoffs with this roster. And you need to make that change either via internal growth, which is banking on a lot,
Yeah.
or
Uh-huh.
the more likely thing is the trades. I think you're right when you say you don't trade Duncan Robinson just to get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
I think you trade him for that power forward. I think you trade him for that extra piece that actually going to contribute. You don't trade him to get rid of the contract. That's not. And I think there's a lot of contenders in the league that could benefit from a Duncan Robinson. I think
Absolutely.
somebody like LeBron would love to play with Duncan Robinson because LeBron was surrounded by shooters and he was great. I think Giannis would love to play with a Duncan Robinson, like guys like that. I think Duncan is probably the most likely trade guy
Mm-hmm.
in this situation. A dark somebody will always say hero, but I think he'll do the necessary things to stay on this roster.
I think
And
it takes a huge leap, man. I really do. I
I
really
hope so.
think.
I
I
like
really.
him.
I think one thing that is underrated, before we go, is I believe this team will be more fluent even than last year's team, offensively especially. I know defensively with PJ Tucker, we might see some of a fall off. But I don't know, man. I'm really intrigued. Maybe that's just like the little coach in me, or like I don't know. I keep analyzing this team and the way that we can play and the familiarity. That's another thing that people don't realize. But, we're running them back. There's a cool concept of continuity when it's successful. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not that we got blown out in the first round. We were minutes away from the finals, obviously with injuries, no excuse. But there's a level of comfort and continuity, and even comfort in Lowry. Lowry's a year
Mhm.
in. He knows the system. He knows the guys. So I believe each player will maximize his ability, even when it's comfortable, when they're most comfortable now. The one thing that always keeps coming back to me, player wise, and I think we've talked about it before. When in regards to it, we do move Robinson. Like, you can't wait too long, because if Robinson, maybe if you are going to move him and he starts to dip or he starts to struggle, obviously his value lowers a little bit. So you have to weigh the options. If you're going to move them, when are you going to move them? For what piece? For some reason, it's something that keeps coming back to my mind over and over and over. For some reason, it's Harrison Barnes. Like, I have that name stuck in my
It's a good
head.
name. I have another
And
one.
okay, go. Which one? This is
Marcus
fun.
Morris Sr.
Mark. Oh shit, from the Clippers.
I think Kawhi and Paul
Salaries
George would
match.
benefit from Duncan Robinson.
Oh shit, that's good. That's not bad at all. And it's funny because we had his brother, but he's always been a little bit more offensively gifted than Markeith.
Yeah, very much so.
That's Konya. I didn't thought about that. I didn't think about that.
I think he was the leading, I could be wrong, the leading scorer for the Clippers when both Kawhi
Yeah, he
and
was.
Paul
He
George were
was.
out.
He was. Yeah. Like, damn. Now you said, which other power forward, which other kind of fits?
He fits what Eric Spoelstra wants.
It's true. It's true. Which is it's funny. His brother was starting for us last year. It was the same concept until you guys hurt.
I think he was on the way to being a very solid rotation piece before he got hurt.
Oh man, that's now you brought it up to me. That's cool.
Yep.
And salaries do match even more.
And
Because
Morris is an expiring salary too.
exactly. That's the key thing. But you see, that's the part right there. Now, if you have to trade Robinson, he has 4 years left on his deal. So unless the team really wants him, you're gonna have to also send another asset to kind of soften that blow. For example, I had him pegged even with the Lakers if Westbrook was gonna be moved eventually. because even the roster construction in the Lakers, once again, they don't have any shooters. They have athletic wings, and hopefully Kendrick Nunn plays. Kendrick Nunn's knee sprain has been going on for 2 years now, so I don't know if he's gonna play. I know they signed Toscano. I think Toscano Anderson. He's athletic, okay, but once again, they don't have shooting. So and Clippers have look. I love Luke Kennard, and I think imagine you have Robinson and Luke Kennard as a coach. You're salivating when you got Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Luke Kennard, Duncan Robinson. Oh man, that's not bad. I can see that happening now. Do we have any other names?
I think you said Harrison Barnes. I said
Harrison Barnes,
Morris,
Marcus Morris Sr.
Maybe if they start off very poorly, John Collins.
That's something that we can revisit. But then you're investing. Oh man.
Then you have to attach a first round pick.
Exactly. But you see, you're also taking in back his contract. So that's your. He
has a similar contract to Duncan, doesn't he? He's higher, like
he's a little bit higher.
1 million higher.
Yeah,
higher value under the trade parameters.
It does fit. So you don't really have to acquire. You don't have to send extra capital. Probably another role player here and there, but
yeah, that's something like that. Yeah,
that what you mentioned. I don't see the Hawks fitting well. I really don't. Like that team is not constructed. I don't think personally they're gonna be. Mm-hmm. They might make it as a playing team. And I know they knocked me last show. The whole Phoenix Suns situation. Keep an eye on the Phoenix Suns situation. I'm not comfortable with that situation if I'm Phoenix. There's not. I don't know. There's something going on.
I don't think they have anything we would want either, though. I think
no, not at all.
There's dysfunction going on, and the most that we would want from them already wants out, which is Jay Crowder.
Yeah,
and if we want anybody.
Or Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson's still with him, right?
Cam Johnson's
the power forward. Yeah,
I love that guy.
I love Cam Johnson.
I think he was awesome in the finals.
Oh man. Well, that's it for us today, Clutch. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, this is just the first week of training camp. I believe that the first preseason game is in a week. What's the date? Do we have the date exactly or no?
I know they have the red and pink scrimmage on the 3rd. I want to say.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's like 2 days after.
And the day after, the 2 days after is going to be the first game.
Perfect. Oh, I'm excited. I just want to see. I want to tune in. I know for the next 2 weeks, really, is going to be slow news. So I just want to thank everybody that actually tuned in. Me and Clutch today. Maybe Neil or Juan join us next week. But out of all of us, Clutch, I'll give you any final words for our fans in Miami. Like I said in the beginning of the show, please like, subscribe, share. But most importantly, our hearts, our mind, our prayers are with everybody affected by the storm currently. Everything that's in its path, we hope that you've been able to evacuate. Stay safe with your family. And if there's any way that we can help, DM us, send us messages, even if it's volunteer work. We all take care of each other here in Florida, whether from the South Point or whether to Tallahassee. We got everybody. And we love you all. Be safe, Miami. Much love. Clutch, any final words?
Nothing, man. You said what I wanted to say. Everybody stay safe. Keep mind something that a lot of people don't say, but I think should be highlighted. Keep mind of your pets during these storm things. They're living creatures too. They need to be safe just like you do. So keep mind of your pets. Stay safe. Keep your family safe. Hope everything works out for everybody.
I'm here to hear. Happy Home Day. Be safe. Much love. See you next Wednesday. Like always, much love from the Goon Squad. Take care.